In 2016, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species banned the trade of African grey parrots. The parrots are one of the most intelligent and most traded wildlife species in the world that should receive the highest level of protection in Nigeria, as they are listed under the first schedule of the Endangered Species Act. This week on Go Wild, Arise environmental correspondent Laila Johnson-Salami takes us inside the illegal trade of African grey parrots, a trade that appears to be widespread, not just in physical markets, but also across online marketplaces.
Well, Arise environmental correspondent Laila Johnson-Salami joins us now for a chat on that brilliant report. Congratulations once again, Laila.
Thank you. Good morning, Femi. Good morning, Mr. Steve. Good morning, OG. Lovely to be here with you again today.
It was, I mean, they're always fantastically informative packages. And I think that when I was watching that one of the things that stood out to me was like, I can wrap my head around the endangered part of parrots. But I always thought that parrots were welcome as household pets in Nigeria. Is that something that's still frowned upon when it comes to the protection of parrots?
Perfect question for us to start with. Growing up in Nigeria, I'm sure we had similar experiences. I would always see parrots in cages being sold on the side of the road. Yeah. I don't see it as often anymore for a simple reason that they're far more scarce. Now, in Nigeria, every single parrot species is protected under the first schedule of the Endangered Species Control of International Trade and Traffic Amendment Act of 2016. And you see, Mr. Steve, present for you today, right there on the screen, right? Examples of endangered species that are protected under this act. We showed this in the first season of Go Wild when we spoke on wildlife laws, and we covered that. So that's just to give you an example, but all parrot species are also protected under the first schedule. So they are completely banned from hunting and trade. And that means that any parrot that's being kept as a pet in Nigeria today is absolutely illegal. It's illegal to keep parrots as pets. It's illegal to hunt and trade all parrot species. And the most vulnerable parrot species today on the African continent certainly is the African grey. There is no story of exploitation as great as this.
It is so important that you highlighted this. I mean, the fact that they are protected under the first schedule. What type of penalty would you get?
Perfect question, because I came very prepared with that for you as well, yeah? So under the first schedule, it's a fine of 500,000 naira or 5 years imprisonment. Under the second schedule, and don't forget parrots are under the first schedule, so a fine of 500,000 naira or 5 years imprisonment, which is argued to still not be strong or stringent enough. Most people get the fine, it's a slap on the wrist, they're going to do it again. Under the second schedule, it's a fine of 300,000 naira or 3 years imprisonment. And under the third schedule, it's a fine of 150,000 naira or 18 months in prison. So these laws were updated in 2016, but it's still argued that they can be stronger. For example, an elephant is under the first schedule. If you kill an elephant, it's a fine of 500,000 naira enough for that.
Stop you from doing it
Food
again.
for thought.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Laila, I never knew that birds will be part of animals that you can't touch, I mean, let alone a parrot. So tell me, what's the thing about the grey parrots? I know the reasons why, apart from what Oji said, that what Adefemi said, that, you keep them as pets. There's also the, shall we say, the spiritual, aspect of keeping them, they see things, they can
report.
They can report, things like that.
I'm going to let you ask your question, Steve, but I'm so happy you said this. Unfortunately, my grandfather's already dearly departed, but he had a parrot. Yeah. And it was called Ayekoto. Like the world hates the truth, right? And he would do that. When my mum, when she was a lot younger, and her cousins would come in and take sweeties and take money out of their granddaddy's room, it would be the parrot that would report them.
Exactly.
Very, very intelligent parrot.
Very intelligent. It's funny because when I was doing market research for this and speaking to a couple traders, one thing that kept coming up is that they said that they had a lot of Muslim customers that felt that these parrots served as great security in their homes, especially for their wives. So if they're out of the house all day, these little things can report on all activities, right, that are going on in the house. Now, it's really interesting because parrots, African grey parrots, are said to be as intelligent as 5-year-old kids, right?
Wow.
That's the same level of intelligence that we give to chimpanzees that share about 98% of our DNA with us.
Wow.
So these birds, they have a greater mimic of human speech than any other parrots. They are incredibly intelligent, and that's what's fueled their popularity. People want to have them at home for entertainment, for security, and like you said, also for spiritual beliefs. They're used in traditional medicine. No empirical evidence, by the way, very important to say, to support any of these claims.
Absolutely.
But like Ifeanyi Ezenwa, the PhD candidate from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, said, period pains in women, that's one reason. Stammering in people, that's another reason.
Wow.
So these are the reasons that these brilliant birds are being held in captivity, being hunted and traded. And in the past 4 decades, about 1.3 million African greys have been traded from the African continent. So the population decline is swooping. And in another 10, 20 decades, I mean, you go to the Omo Forest now, a survey in 2016 over the space of 3 weeks only saw 2 African grey parrots. Omo Forest Reserve used to be full of African greys, abundant with African greys, but that's not the case anymore. So it's quite a sad story. It can change into one of repopulation, but so long as we still have Instagram pages openly selling these African greys, huge online marketplaces like Gigi.ng that should know so much better. Jumia used to have African greys up for sale on their platform, but due to intervention, Jumia got rid of all African greys being sold on their platform. But let's not forget, Jumia also being traded on the New York Stock Exchange, so they have a lot more to worry about, right? They're a large-scale company. But Gigi.ng have not been responding to conservationists, have not tried to follow up with any conversations, and are openly selling these parrots on their platform. Who is monitoring this? Who is watching this? This is completely illegal. Where is GGNG headquartered? I'm not sure. I know the CEO is from Ukraine. That's as far as I could get in my research.
That's what we heard, yeah.
Yes, and a lot of these platforms are not even headquartered here in Nigeria, but they're fueling illegal activities in Nigeria and not caring at all.
It's good to call them out. It's good to call them out because you don't. It happens even in the media. You know, so many platforms been up there. You know, on the internet, you can't trace them.
Exactly.
You know, anywhere you hear Ukraine, you hear Hong Kong, etc. You know, so this is good.
I like that you also highlighted the fact that they thrive in the wild. And can you tell us some of the benefits of having them in the wild, and how the role that they play in the wild?
Absolutely. So parrots play a very important role in our ecosystem. Scientists are still trying to understand the full role that they play within the ecosystem, but one of the most important roles that they play is in the dispersal of seeds, right? So they disperse seeds in the forest as they eat and move around their habitat, which then helps trees to propagate and helps the forest to propagate, and it sustains the forest. So they play a very important role in that cultivation process in the forest that allows forests to be sustained, a role that quite a number of bird species play. And we can't underestimate the importance of that, given how much of an issue deforestation is. We have these amazing wild birds that are helping us to sustain the little of what we have left. And if we get rid of them, that just threatens that even more. But it will be interesting in 10, 20 years' time to see what else we know about the African grey and their role in the ecosystem, because this is research that's still ongoing, to find out as much as we can about this bird. I mean, African greys surprise us all. Like, I have been to houses when I was younger. You see the parrot there, and it's like, hello, or whatever it is.
I was reading a very interesting report when I learned that you were presenting this about this one African grey bird named Jessie that was depressed, and she just stopped speaking for a while, and just to understand the fact that they also have emotions the way that we do. And they are able to express themselves. And other reports saying, when they get depressed, they're plucking out their hairs and all of that stuff.
You saw that in one of the shots of the parrots that we had on the screen. It had something on its eye and it was losing its feathers. It's called feathering, and it does happen under those conditions. And usually you should separate it from other birds because it can spread. But it wasn't in good condition at all. You could see it was stressed. You could see it was going through so much. And look at this one here, learning how to fly again. This is one of the most brilliant things I've seen, because the wings have been clipped, right?
Yeah.
So you're finally in an open space. You can teach yourself how to fly again, go through that process for a while, and then you're fit to go back into the wild. But they also never release African grey parrots on their own back into the wild. They're not likely to survive. They need to go back into the forest as a pack.
Yes.
And that's the same with quite a number of species. Primates, for example, you don't just put one monkey back in and think it's going to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's better to send it in as a pack with a family. They're far more likely to survive that way.
You know, Laila, one thing I love about Go Wild, I mean, apart from like the fact that we learn so
Every
much,
day.
is that we always have an opportunity sometimes to reverse this downward trend. So we're hoping that
At
very,
least
very
now I know,
soon.
because the other day I did see a trader selling a parrot, and I was so interested. I wanted to
You
buy
better
one.
take a picture and send it to Laila.
I'm definitely going to do that. It wasn't
Yeah.
in Ikoyi, so
Sure.
once
So
I
for
find
those
that man,
who
I
are
will send
still
it.
holding them, the advocacy is release the parrot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Put the parrots
Well,
through
to
rehabilitation first.
Rehabilitation.
Because most of the parrots being held as pets, their wings have been clipped. If you put it back into the forest, it's probably going to die within a few days. It's not going to know how to survive. It's not going to be able to take care of itself. So that rehabilitation process is very important. So let's say, for example, you're releasing it into a certain forest that has certain food sources around. You want that parrot during the rehabilitation process to be eating that food so it knows what to sustain itself on when it goes back into the forest. But before we go, I know we have to go very soon, just very quickly, I need to correct something last week. All vulture species, we covered vultures last week, all vulture species are also protected under the first schedule. They used to be under the second schedule,
That's right.
but it was upgraded to the first schedule. So vultures get the same protection that parrots do. Just want to correct
I
that.
mentioned it after you
Yes,
left last
I
week.
panicked. I was like, I told our producer, Charles, I was like, please tell them I made a mistake.
No problem. Well, I mean, it's a bittersweet moment now because we don't have any more episodes of Go Wild. However, you're going straight back into production.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to welcoming you
Yes.
back with brand new episodes of this. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
We'll be gone for a few weeks, but we
Oh,
will
a
be
few
back.
weeks,
Yes,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
will be back with some great content to
Yes.
continue this season of Go Wild.
All right.
Well done,
Thanks so much,
Laila.
Laila.
Stay safe out there.
Well done.
We'll try.